Things very close to it starts looking.
90s reps to try to get people to compare.
Yeah, because
Thank you.
you feeling good about it? For sure.
All right. I know it's pretty lively in here, so I'm going to call up to order. Thank you for being here. I'm stepping in for a bit. Our chair is on her way. She should be here shortly, but while she's on her way, since we do have a forum, we will go ahead and get started. So I would like to call to order the April 18th, 2024 regular board meeting of the North County Transit District. Before we begin, members of the public who may be viewing the meeting on the district's YouTube page, please note that in order to make a public comment during the meeting, you must connect to the meeting using the Zoom link provided on the agenda. In addition, you must also register by sending an email containing your name or phone number and the agenda item on which you wish to speak to clerk@nctd.org. I will go ahead and ask Suhaila Rodriguez, our clerk of the board, to call roll.
Board Chair Edson. Vice Chair Patel.
Yes, I'm here. I was like starting off with I, huh? Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. Board Member Martinez.
Here.
Board Member Hinsey.
Here.
Board Member Garcia.
I think I'm good.
Board Member Robinson.
Here.
Board Member Desmond.
Here.
Board Member Jenkins.
Here.
Board Member Contreras.
Present.
Board Alternate Coleman.
Here.
This completes the roll.
Great. And I was just trying to make sure everyone was paying attention. All right. So with that, Board Member Martinez, would you please lead us in the pledge? pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, thank you. Well, can you please provide a safety brief and review evacuation procedures?
Yes. In case of an emergency, I will dial 911. In case of an evacuation, please take the stairs. Do not take the elevators. Once cleared of the building, please do not re-enter unless cleared to do so by emergency personnel. There are fire extinguishers on each floor of the building, and first aid kits are also available. There's a portable defibrillator on the first floor, and staff on hand trained on CPR procedures if needed. This concludes my safety brief.
Great, thank you. And are there any changes to today's agenda?
No.
All right. And now we'll be moving on to non-agenda public comments. Do we have any today?
No, madam.
All right. So before we proceed, I want to make sure we go through our protocol. So board members, if you could please hold your comments and questions until after each agenda item has been presented. When the time comes for questions or comments, please let me know and wait until you're called to speak. And please remember to turn on and speak into your microphone so that your comments may be heard by those that might be listening online. So with that, our first item is approval of the minutes for the March 21st, 2024 regular board meeting. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second,
Okay.
Gutierrez.
Thank you. Motion by Hindley, second by Contreras. Please vote.
On the motion of Board Member Hensy, seconded by Board Member Contreras to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of March 21st, motion passes.
Great, thank you. All right, off to the consent agenda for action. We have 8 items. Do we have any members of the public requesting any of the items to be pulled?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great, thank you. And any board members wishing to pull items from consent? Okay.
We'll go ahead and move approval, consent calendar thing.
Great, thank you.
Second Garcia.
Thank you. So motion by Contreras, second by Garcia. Please vote.
On the motion of Board Member Contreras, seconded by Board Member Garcia to approve consent items 1 through 8, motion passes.
Great, we are moving along. All right, so our lone item of other business today is to conduct a public hearing for the proposed Sorrento Valley Coaster Connection Service. Chris Orlando, our GTD's Chief Planning and Communications Officer, and Katie Persons, our Director of Service Planning, will be presenting this item. Chris and Katie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice Chair Bucketel, and thank you, board members. We're happy to be here this afternoon. We are here to conduct and close the public hearing for the proposed operation of the Sorrento Valley Coaster Connection Service. You recall you've seen this item. We were talking earlier. You've seen this item 4 times now. We presented in September, December, and you opened the public hearing in February. So I won't go into a lot of background. But slightly, just to give you a little orientation of what we're talking about. This is the proposed Sorrento Valley Flex Coaster Connection Service. This service currently is run by MTS, but as you know, in February, the board opened the public hearing for NCTD to take over operation of these 5 routes, which operate in the Sorrento Valley area, as well as in the UTC area, areas surrounding UCSD, as well as the Genesee 40 Pines corridor there at the top left. Why are we doing this? These routes are not only very critical for our coaster service, so about 15% of our coaster ridership uses this Sorrento Valley Coaster Station, which all of these routes are anchored to. In addition, this area is San Diego region's largest employment center. So about 170,000 jobs in this area. So this is serviced by this coaster connection service. You have the Sorrento Valley Tech Corridor, You have UCSD and the Associated Medical Centers. You have the Technology Hub up in the Genesee Torrey Pines area, and you also have the UTC Shopping Mall, all serviced by these routes. So this service is not only critical to NCTD and our coaster service as a key driver of ridership, but also critically important to the region as a whole. And so, as you know, when NCTD learned that MTS would no longer operate the service, we began planning to assume the operations of the service beginning on June 10th. What we have in the presentation today is a summary of the public input we've received since the board opened the public hearing in February, the results of the equity analysis that was done in support of the service, and then a summary of the implementation of the service for final approval for the board. So with that, I'll turn it over to Katie and she'll walk through all of those things.
Great, thank you. So quick summary here on the public engagement conducted since the February meeting. In total, we received 260 survey responses to our phase 2 survey by yesterday's cutoff. We conducted multiple community presentations, including to Biocom, Sustainable Transportation Services, the Mira Mesa Community Planning Group, and the Sorrento Valley Town Council. We also conducted one-on-one outreach with large property owners in the area. As the board mentioned at the February board meeting, we made sure to focus our communication on large employers where we have both current riders of the service as well as non-riders to help educate about the service. And then finally, we conducted pop-up events at the Sorrento Valley Station, handed out information on board the coaster, and hosted a pop-up event at UCSD. To summarize our public engagement a bit, we received about 12 letters or written comments, which have been included in the agenda packet. That includes property owners and companies such as Longfellow Real Estate, Health Peak Properties, Mito Biopharma, Dexcom, UCSD, entities such as Circulate San Diego, Biocom, and the Sorrento Valley Town Council, as well as a few current commuters. The public feedback indicated strong support for the service, both from local companies and existing riders. Several companies indicated that the service was an important resource for their employees and that they offered subsidized transit passes to provide more commute options for their employees. Others indicated that the service was an integral part of their daily routine, particularly for healthcare workers that travel to the numerous hospitals and medical facilities in the area. And other comments pointed to the relative regional significance of the Sorrento Valley area, as mentioned, and how important it was for the region to offer mobility options to this subregion. So as a result of the public engagement, we are proposing one minor route modification. That is an adjustment to Route 474 in blue that serves the UCSD-UTC area. What's on screen here is what was originally proposed to the board in February. This very slight modification is what we are proposing here. And that was after discussions with UC San Diego staff. We're proposing to turn onto Regents Road and Eastgate in order to provide a more direct path of travel to the Science Research Park and the broader UC San Diego Health System campus. And we plan to coordinate closely with UCSC on the necessary stop infrastructure in that area. So to better illustrate the coaster trips that we are connecting to, here's our full weekday coaster schedule. In yellow are the trips that are currently served by MTS and will continue to be served by NCTD's proposed service. We are also proposing to add an additional trip in the late morning, and that's as a result of the feedback that we received via the survey. And the service overall is still peak oriented, which is consistent with the travel patterns that we saw indicated in the 2 surveys that we've conducted over the last several months. The addition of new routes is considered a major service change policy under NCTD, or major service change under NCTD Board Policy 30. So that requires us to conduct a Title VI equity analysis to determine if there is a disparate impact to minority populations or a disproportionate burden to low-income populations relative to the NCTD service area. The complete Title VI analysis is included as attachment A and found that there was no disparate impact or disproportionate burden. The board also discussed the importance of performance monitoring at the last meeting. So we wanted to touch briefly on where you'll see updates on the service's performance should the board decide to move forward today. The SVCC service will be reported through the existing flex mode category, and we plan to include a brief call out of that within the monthly topper, as well as a summary of that within the annual topper or transit operations performance report. As part of the budget development process, NCT planning and finance staff creates modal ridership projections. We've utilized the ridership data from MTS's existing SVCC service to serve as a baseline, which will be reflected in the service implementation plan, which then feeds into the monthly and annual topics. And with that, I'll hand it over to Chris.
So we are continuing our community engagement around the service. With the board's approval today, we'll begin the final steps of the implementation. We intend to continue the outreach not only to promote the service, but also we had some really good conversations with members of the business community and property owners about the possibility of subsidizing the service. And so we expect to get some traction with those conversations. We've been very focused on ensuring that we had continuity of service, meaning there was no break between when MTS stopped the service and when we started the service. And so our attention has been focused on that. But as we get the implementation launched in June with the board's approval, we'll really continue that community engagement, look for sources of funding. There's a high level of interest among property owners in supporting the service as a means of satisfying their transportation demand management requirements. And so we've had some really good conversations and expect to get some traction there, as well as marketing service. So we know, and we've learned from our outreach that marketing this service to the employers in the area and others is going to be key to success. So we'll be launching a marketing plan for the launch, but then also continuing that plan as the service comes to fruition. Fiscal impact. The costs of this service are what we consider incremental, meaning they will be added to our existing bus operations budget. The costs include things such as operator fees and salaries, fueling, parts for the vehicles, those sorts of things. So the anticipated impact for fiscal year 2024 is limited to the final 15 days of the fiscal year, so it'll be quite minor at $3,000. The total cost for the full fiscal year FY25 is estimated to be about $911,000 for incremental cost for the service. It's important to note, however, we are currently paying MTS about $387,000 a year to operate the existing service. And so the net of that cost is really about $524,000 is the actual net cost and the hit to our budget that we'll experience. With that, the staff recommendation is that then the board review the public comments and close the public hearing, and then further recommends that the board approve the operations of the Toronto Valley Coastal Connection Service effective June 10th, 2024. And with that, Kate and I would be happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you so much, and thanks for the presentation. It seems like there was a lot of public outreach conducted, which is great. So I'll go ahead and turn to our clerk and see if we have any public speakers for this item.
Yes, we do, Madam Chair. I'll call the first speaker, Mr. Theodore Reyes. Mr. Reyes, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you to the thank you to the board for allowing us to speak. My name is Theodore Reyes from Alexandria Real Estate Equities, Assistant Vice President of Facility Services. For those of you not aware, Alexandria Real Estate, I have a prepared statement here, is the largest owner operator of laboratory space in the San Diego Life Sciences Cluster, which includes Torrey Pines, Sorrento Valley, Sorrento Mesa, and University Town Center. In this cluster, Alexandria owns approximately 90 buildings and approximately 8 million square feet. These buildings are home to some of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, including Eli Lilly, Bristol Myers Squibb, Novartis, as well as some large medical device companies. like Dexcom and Luna, as well as a large number of smaller starting up companies, which are key to the San Diego region. These companies employ people at all income levels, from diverse backgrounds who travel from close proximity and long distances. Public transit is essential to our thriving life science industry and the critical importance for sustainable growth. Alexandria strongly supports NCTD's continuance of the shuttles in the life sciences sector, serving Sorrento Valley Coaster Station. As you may be aware, Alexandria has already begun initial conversations with the NCTD staff to explore opportunities for a win-win partnership whereby Alexandria can achieve a portion of its transportation demand management goals while offsetting operational expenses for the NCTD shuttle service to the coaster. We look forward to a continued dialogue in this endeavor. Personally, I am also a user. I come from that other county just north of us, and I'm a transplant from the Bay Area, so I am thrilled to be a coaster user. So thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Ms. Emily Castle. Ms. Castle, you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, I'm Emily Castle with Biocom California, the state's life science trade association. We advocate on behalf of 1,800 members in California, with 650 of them in the San Diego region. Our organization strongly supports continuation of shuttle service from the Sorrento Valley Coaster Station to life science employers in Sorrento Valley, Torrey Pines, UTC, and Mira Mesa. We were given only a few days' notice when the MTS Board of Directors voted to discontinue this service, and it was difficult to hear that they were citing decreased ridership for the vote, as we have been offering for years to partner on marketing for the route and for the industry to provide financial support of the service. The NCTD staff has been a notable contrast, seeking out our input and support as they have developed the proposal to continue the service while increasing ridership and serving additional employers on our expanded route. Biocom California hosted a roundtable with council members Joe LaCava and Kent Lee, NCTD staff, and our members to garner input on the route. And there was a clear message at the roundtable and through additional communication with our industry that these shuttles are vital to transit use for the life science employees. Biocom California is committed to working with NCTD to provide these services and communicate them to employers to facilitate maximum ridership. Many of our life science employees rely on this service for their commutes, and access to transit helps all of us reach our climate goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. It's great to have such a high level of support here. The many comments expressed interest in the districts taking over and increasing the route, and gratitude to customers who rely on the service. And I'd also like to say kudos to our staff for their robust community outreach. With that, does the board have any questions and comments? Okay, start with you, Vice Chair.
Great, thank you. And thanks so much for the presentation. And I also just want to echo that it's awesome to hear that the experience with Biocom and others, it sounds like, has been positive. And so I really appreciate the staff's work and effort on that. So a couple of different questions that I'd like to ask are, I know you mentioned from the survey that you all had, did the late morning slot come up? It sounds like, what was the question we were asking in order to get that? Because I'm sure there are other times that might be popular too, so I'm just curious.
We actually showed the existing coaster schedule and identified 3 slots that they could choose from in order to see additional SVCC service from. And so we had 3 options available, and the late morning was the top.
Interesting, okay. I'm like, I wonder what I would have said to that. So I'm just curious. And then in terms of the pop-up events and, you know, just the outreach in terms of the survey, how were folks being chosen? Were they just participating based on if they were interested, or were we trying to outreach to specific demographics, et cetera? I'm trying to understand how that survey was conducted.
Yeah, we approached everyone On the coaster, we kind of made rounds as we were heading south from Oceanside down to Sorrento Valley to make sure folks were aware of the survey, aware that they could provide feedback to us. So we were able to make contact with everyone who was on board. At the stations itself, we had staff on both sides of the platform with survey cards and additional information, handing them out to folks as they were leaving the coaster and heading to their routes. And then at the UCSD pop-up, we had a table and canopy, and we're reaching out to students, staff, and faculty just to get their input and let them know about the service.
Okay, awesome. I appreciate that. I think while you were speaking, I was just curious, have we, and maybe it's not something that we do, have we ever like incentivized folks for taking surveys? Like not everyone, but you know, like, hey, you're gonna be thrown into a drawing.
We offer an NCT flag.
Okay. There you go. There you go. Okay, yeah. I know we can't, I know as a public agency, we can't compensate folks, obviously, so I was just curious what we were doing to get people to, I mean, there are incentives to get people to do surveys. I mean, in the public health world, believe me, I've seen it, so I was just curious. And then, okay, I already asked that one. I think there's one more. Let me just double check. No, I think I asked every single question. I just have comments, but I'll save them for later.
Okay, thank you. Anyone? I'll go down the dais.
Okay, I just thank you for the presentation. So it seems to me that asking people questions who are taking the train is one thing. It seems like the pop at UCSD, we're trying to educate people on the opportunity. So did you ask the people who aren't taking them what the barriers were? Was that part of the survey?
That was part of the first round of surveys that we did in the fall. We asked if they weren't currently taking the service or an employee sponsored shuttle, what that reason was. So we do have that information from the fall. We didn't continue that question over into this second phase survey, but that would be something that we'd like to follow up with additional surveys as we.
Yeah, I think a part of success is more riders, obviously, and learning about the barriers and educating them. Sometimes they're not as tough as people might perceive them to be. So I think that would be really important. And then my second question is, how will we get the milestones of success? How often will you be reporting that back to them?
So the ridership data will be reported in the monthly transit operations performance report. So that'll be included in the board agenda packet and summarized on an annual level in the annual report as well. We also plan to come back at specific dates to provide updates to the board on what we're seeing in terms of trends and what our outreach efforts are.
And we've said, this was a question that came up in the February meeting, we've set as a baseline the current ridership level in our service implementation plan for the upcoming fiscal year. So that's right around 25,000 riders in the fiscal year. So that's our baseline that we're trying to achieve. We're hopeful we can exceed that, but that's our baseline.
And then have you gone into individual companies? I know there's some big companies, Dexcom, for instance, and spent some time in that actual business to educate people on the services?
We have, and in fact, Katie and team will be at Qualcomm on Monday doing just that. And then Alexandria, which is in Biocom, which have been great partners. Alexandria sent the survey information out to their entire tenant base, which is about 10,000 folks. And then Biocom's been communicating with their membership base as well. So we've gotten really good outreach.
Great, thank you.
Director Lindsay.
Thank you. So it's really positive to hear about the engagement from the private sector in this effort. And I'm curious to know if we have a target subsidy that we're trying to reach through TDM or through employer contributions. Is that going to be a measure of our success at all?
We don't have a specific dollar target, if that's what you're asking. As I tried to say in the presentation, our goal is really to get the service up and operating and make sure we have continuity of service. The effort with the subsidy is to make sure we're sustainable in that operation and to make sure that we have budget certainty around the service, so there's no discontinuation. So there's not a particular number in mind, but our goal would be whether that's through our engagement with Alexandria or others to offset the cost as best we can. And whether that's within the business community, property owners, other regional partners, I think, we'll be, hitting on all cylinders to try and raise, additional support.
Yeah, that's great. And it's encouraging that even now we're getting that kind of engagement with the existing, I guess, property owners that are there, business owners. And then we know that this region just continues to grow and will continue to grow. What will be the process for making sure that as the mall expands, as business expands, that we're capturing the TDM that they need to be able to function?
Yeah, I think, so this notion of, the direct subsidy as an offset for TDM is actually kind of, new for our region and new for our area. So we'll be fleshing out what it looks like. And even the, this is, City of San Diego. So even their description on what that is, there's not a lot of definition around that. And so part of this effort will be to make sure that what we develop satisfies what the City of San Diego is looking for. Councilmember Lee's office and Councilmember McCarthy's office have been really helpful in that regard. And so our goal would be to create a structure for this to be a approved and legitimate offset to TDM.
Yeah, I know for us in the city of Encinitas, it's a new policy we've only just begun to develop. So I hope that you tap board members of NCTD to help coordinate with the city of San Diego to make sure that those are actually meaningful investments that we're able to make and have that mode shift from parking requirements to making sure that there's ample support for transit. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, beyond there, any more questions? Okay, Director Jenkins.
Yeah, thanks.
I didn't want to. Paper, rock, scissors going on over there.
Couple questions. I just want to echo, I think it's already been stated, but it was nicely stated in the letters, how quickly NCTD and your staff jumped on this as an opportunity. I think that was a good thing. I was surprised with the, pleasantly surprised that there was over 200 surveys. I don't think we normally see that many. Can you clarify for us, since we're discussing this again today, is MTS doing anything to help in this situation? I know it's been discussed before, but since we're regrouping and talking about it all over again.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking that. So we have finalized an MOU with MTS, and essentially they are transferring the vehicles currently used for the operation to us for a nominal cost. So that came in a little lower than when we presented to the board in February. So the radio equipment we are purchasing for $47,000, and then they are selling the 6 vehicles to us for $10 a piece. So those are.
Must be in great shape.
And then the MOU also covers the use of their Copley bus facility for storage of vehicles. So we worked with them to store the vehicles at the facility, so our operators can then come to the facility, get the vehicles, and then it saves us having the miles on those gently used vehicles back and forth for motion side. So and just because you noted it, we have budgeted and have funding identified to replace vehicles. So we're starting the process of replacing, knowing that these vehicles that we're getting only last us for a short period of time.
Okay. And then, so NCTD is absorbing all the costs. There's no other cost from any, no other revenue from any other agencies
Not correct.
coming in. Okay. Okay. And then, you mentioned about possible subsidies coming in. Would that be towards the current implementation program, or is that to enhance the program? Do we not know?
The discussions we have to date is based on the current implementation program.
Okay.
So we the routes have been structured in a way that are amenable to folks looking to subsidize. So it's based on the current structure.
Okay. And then, you also made a comment about, budget certainty success, I believe. What happens if we don't have budget certainty success?
Yeah, so this is, as I noted, this is an incremental increase in cost to our bus operations. So this service would be subject to all our services to the annual budgeting and operations process. So from this point forward, it's included within our bus operations budget and will be part of the operations and annual budgeting process. This is contracted service like the rest of our service. So it's actually we've executed a service agreement with and B, to increase the number of operators that we need in the service area that we operate the service. So it will be a part of that contract, so part of our annual budgeting process.
Okay, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Contreras.
Yes, I just want to echo as well the comments that have been made, that it's incredible the amount of engagement that you all have led. Obviously, there's a big void, and this is, something that we're looking at out of necessity, it being such a highly used stop on the coaster. One thing that I would really love to get enough subsidy to eliminate that $524,000, right? With the TDM, how much information do we have? Is that publicly available information? Do you have to go to each company and be like, hey, where are your gaps? This is how we can help you. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's basically what we've been doing. Through Viacom, we've made some connections with the larger property owners and those that have interest or are looking to have some offsets. We've been engaging directly with them and saying, how does this service fit into what you're required to do or what you're looking to do? And I will say, the TDM is a component of it, but our conversations with the property owners and with the other businesses go beyond that. That's sort of the minimum. They really do see this as an amenity for their tenants and for their employees. So yes, that's a piece of it, but we heard again and again, and that's not the only reason they want to do this, because they see it as a good thing for the tenants and employees.
And are there general ballpark figures of, how much they can help, or, are we talking about this like $10 level? Talking about
So
100,000?
can I interrupt for just a second? For those listening at home, they may not be aware of the acronym TDM. Could you perhaps explain that?
Transportation demand management goals that the city has set forth. And our understanding is there's kind of different zones that the city of San Diego has within that area, within Sorrento Valley. So property owners within each zone have to meet specific requirements based upon the size of their project. And the city of San Diego has laid out almost like a menu of options where you can earn points based upon the program that you put together. So our goal would be to kind of create some menu options, make sure that those points help meet the needs of the city as well as the property owners to kind of meet those goals. So there are some options that are related to transit operations or stop infrastructure, things like that, fare subsidies. So we make sure that our offerings are in line with what the city expects to see.
Okay, and is that information going to be provided to us?
In terms of the offerings.
Yeah, and we can provide an update once we get up and running out.
That would just be great. I think it's additional information for the board, and then, I think the city of Carlsbad has a TDM strategy, right? So these are kind of things that we can, as a region, start to see where else, we can plug in some gaps in the future.
And in a perfect world, we would have come to you today and said, approve the service, and we've done it, it's really fun, but we're not there yet. Our focus has really been around that continuity of service and making sure we didn't miss a beat on the service. So we're going to continue to outreach on the funding piece, and I'm fairly confident we'll get there at least in some measure. So
Awesome. That is great. And then last question that I have is on the replacement schedule. Do we have an idea of the timeline for the replacement? Are we talking like 5 to 7 years from now?
The vehicles?
Mhm.
Oh, no. 2 years, 15 months to 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty check used, so we're going to try and get those swapped out pretty quickly.
Okay, awesome. And, with some of the goals that NCTD has, they're not in the next 2 years, but further down the road, right, trying to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. So is there going to be a replacement schedule that we end up going electric with these vehicles?
So we're looking at that, and in fact, our team will be down. There's a large, it happens to be in town, with a large electric bus show in San Diego tomorrow. So our team's going to be down looking at some options. So that'll be part of the planning for that procurement. There are some difficulties though, because with the electric, you have to have, of course, the charging facilities. We don't have that infrastructure in this area, so that it's outsiders. So there's some complexity to it, but we've heard the board in the prior meetings express the desire to have these be, clean vehicles as much as possible. So as we prepare that procurement, we will very much keep that in mind. Unfortunately, in this size bus or this category, there's not a lot of options for American-made vehicles that fit that, this class of vehicles. So, but we're looking and hopeful that we can find something that would work.
Awesome. Okay, well, and the last thing I have is just a comment, which is hopefully we see this be very successful to the point where we are surpassing, anything that we thought before. And hopefully that could trigger a conversation about redoing that entire station, because it really needs to get redone, and we need to work with the city of San Diego to ensure that it is easy for folks. I just constantly see people with their e-bikes, right? There's no shade, like where are people getting water? And then the surrounding infrastructure is just kind of brutal to navigate. So, but thank you so much.
I just have comments on behalf of the council member. No questions?
Thank you, Director Coleman. Please go ahead.
You all took a lot of my comments, but I'll still reiterate. So first of all, thank you to staff for your efforts bringing this forward. I know that we've had multiple conversations with the council member and our office, including the roundtable that council member Joe LaCava was present at. And I know that they sent a letter of support for the proposal as well. Also want to quickly thank the public who spoke, Biocom, Alexandria, for coming all the way to Oceanside to make your public comments. At the February meeting, the council members spoke to frustrations with the lack of marketing, stakeholder engagement with MTS when they initially decided to discontinue the services. And so I know that people have spoken to it, but I just want to reiterate, the council members' appreciation for your engagement, especially with, UCSD, Mirror Mesa Community Planning Group. I saw Serrano Valley Town Council, and of course, biotech and other life sciences that you all know are growing, very rapidly. As everyone knows, the Serrano Valley Coaster serves a majority of the council members district, and this has also been a topic of discussion, but I do want to emphasize that part of the district is a significantly competitive economic corridor and employment hub, not just for the city of San Diego, but the entire region, as many folks who live in North County take the coaster to their jobs every day in the city. I also think it's important to note that, this proposed service not only continues existing service that NCTD is currently supporting, but also provides key adjustments that may also improve the services offered currently. And I know that the council member is hopeful that this additional service will help to increase ridership, obviously, which will also hopefully recoup the cost of services and generate, further job expansion, especially in Serrano Valley moving forward. And then the last thing I'll add is that I know that Karina, our director, comes for us, just mentioned this, but we're looking forward to, future discussions on relocating the Serrano Valley Coaster Station, possibly also collaborating with UCSD and using their locations for shuttle services. That will be just an additional piece in providing ridership or increasing ridership moving forward. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Martinez, I believe you have another.
Just a quick question, a curiosity question. The fleet that NCTD will be acquiring, are they all the same size, and how many passengers average on each vehicle?
Yes, and the passenger size is 25.
Thank you.
They are Eldorado cutaways, if that means something. And just this came up last time, but just so you know, we will be rewrapping the vehicles, so they'll be wrapped in. We're shortening the name to be Coaster Connection because one thing that came up is this definitely serves more than just Serrano Valley, and so we'll be branding it NCTD Coaster Connection, and they'll be wrapped in our traditional colors.
Great, thank you. Great Q&A, much appreciated. I have one quick question. Did MTS receive any subsidies from, for example, Sandag or the city of San Diego, or were there any pending? at the time that this change happened?
I don't believe so. As you know, we subsidized the service previously, based on our MOU that they terminated, but I don't believe they received other subsidies.
Okay, I thought I heard a rumor that there was something pending with the city of San Diego. I'll dig deeper and let you know if I. With that, again, thank you so much to staff for the robust community outreach. I have the great good fortune of being on the coaster headed to a Sandbag meeting with Miss Mary Dover, our government affairs yes, officer Mary Dover. And we looked out the window and there was the team, doing the public outreach and being so active, and it was great to see everybody. And the public was very engaged, or you guys were just dotting them. I don't know, but it was great. So thank you for that. Again, we got so much feedback or so much support for the transition to NCTD and sharing of the needs and desires of kind of a wide swath of people, everything from individuals to businesses, the Sorrento Valley Town Council, and local elected officials. So as was mentioned, it's unusual for us to get that level of feedback. We beg for crumbs of feedback, and this was like bread. They baked bread for us. So anyway, that's a pretty bad metaphor, but so at this point, may I have a motion to close the public hearing and approve the proposed operation of the Sorrento Valley Coaster Connection Service effective June 10th, 2024.
So moved.
Motion by Contreras. Double second by Hensy and Martinez. Please vote.
On the motion of Board Member Contreras, seconded by Board Member Hensy to conduct public hearing related to the proposed operation of Sorrento Valley Coaster Connection Service. Motion passes.
Great. The next item on our agenda is a closed session. Ms. Lori Winfrey, General Counsel, will now take us into closed session.
Thank you so much. We do have one item today pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 subsection D4 related to anticipated litigation, one potential case.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Donaghy. What wonderful things do you have to share with us?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Just a few things. We just came back last week from the APTA Legislative Conference. First of all, big shout out to Chris and Mary. They did a phenomenal job, and we went out and spoke to our electeds. We had great meetings with FRA, FTA, Office of the DOT. Really good conversations about the future of the agency, some of the projects that we have on the horizon, and we did, depending on which room we were in, have some conversations about local items as well that we think are important to the region. But really great meetings. The APTA Ledge Conference is always a good place to get information on sort of the lay of the land as it is in transit. I mean, they're based in DC, so they have presence on the Hill pretty frequently. So it's nice to get a download from them on what's happening in real time. Just really appreciate, I think, the support around what we want to see from public transit, but also good questions about concerns about the state of our industry and where we're going to go, really in relation to no or low emission vehicles and transition on our rail side and some of our bus side. So it was great to engage in those conversations, and I really appreciated that. Today, we approved a trenching letter of support for the city of Carlsbad, and so that should be heading back pretty soon. We continue to have some really great meetings with cities and a few of our board members. Those are still ongoing. I'm looking forward to that, but really appreciate the candid conversation. I'm interested to see what we can do to help out every city and not just on transit. I think a transit related front, we want to support anything that the city has, either at the Sandag level or at the local level, we can do nationally and statewide. So I'm looking forward to that. On April 26th, we have a Coaster Padres press event. We're sending down our wrapped bi-level on the rail at Santa Fe Station. I'm pretty excited about that partnership. Chris and team did an awesome job with that. We're out doing some bi-level testing. Got to spend some time with our rail team the other night, doing some of our dynamic and yard testing on the new bi-levels that we got in from Thunder Bay. I'm pretty excited about that. Running at night, we twice hit 90 plus on two of our vehicles heading north toward Stewart Mesa. So it's fun to see those vehicles be prepared to be put into service. Budget for 2024-2025 is here. Staff's putting a good plan together. The financial team will give a presentation next month on sort of where we're at, give you a preview of what we're looking at before we send it up for approval in June. I always think that's important to do. We were fortunate to be at the CALAC conference the other day to give some opening remarks with MTS and Sharon Cooney. So really like that group. They had a lot of good topics on the agenda, very similar to some of the things we've talked about in DC. So that's nice to see them. It's their 40th anniversary too. So, it's nice to be able to go down there and talk at their event. Next week, Mary and Chris and I are going to see Senator Blakespear in Sacramento real quick for a one-day. We're going to have a conversation about really an introduction and just a transit conversation in general. So we're looking forward to that. If there's anything you would like us to bring with us, please let me know. Shoot me an email. And I found out pretty quickly on the Sorrento Valley Coaster connection that my computer takes one R on spell check out of Sorrento. So new information to me. But I really want to take a minute to thank the planning team. I think Katie and her team have done a fantastic job of sort of building this out. And my comment sort of mirrors Chris's. I think that, yes, we want to use ridership as an identifier, I think, of the success of the route, but it's a little bit bigger than that for us. You have a college campus right there. You have life science. You have quite a few businesses that I think could make a difference. And I think as people continue to move out to North County and you pull MTS out of the mix, they'll have a connection to MTS, the Blue Line, UCSD. I think it really gives us an opportunity to sort of reevaluate what we want out of that, and maybe even pushing to the Northeast all the way up to Escondido. So there's just a lot of energy, I think, about how we manage the east to north portion of the county through that service. And I think the planning department has done a fantastic job of sort of building phase one and then thinking about phase two and phase three of what that means for the service. So I wanted to say thanks to them. And looking forward to, we'll have another board meeting before then, but looking forward to the Board Forward event. I didn't spill beans this month. It's already out there. So, and I'd be happy to take any questions from anybody if you have anything.
I was going to ask if the board had any questions. Are you doing my job? Any questions for Sean anyway? Thank you very much. Great report. Lots of information there. Board members, do you have any brief reports to share? Seeing none. I had a little team in Losan snippet on Thursday, April 11th, 2024. Losan staff attended an Amtrak state-supported route briefing. Amtrak provided a presentation and overview on state-supported route financial results for Q1 federal fiscal year 2024. The presentation showed Pacific Surfliner achieved 159.4% growth over the same period the previous year. So we do see that rail is rebounding and that passengers are coming back. And all of that, with all of the closure that went on, is actually pretty good. So also the X Games in Ventura are 2024 are coming up on June 28th through 30th. So in case anybody's into X Games, they can take the Pacific Surfliner or that's all for me. Sunal, do we have any remaining public speakers?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Oh, wait.
Sorry, I have one more comment. I forgot. Probably important to note, and it's a pretty big deal. Lori was asked to serve on the Surface Transportation Board's Commuter Rail Committee. That was a huge deal. I think one of the conversations that maybe gets a little bit lost in what North County Transit really does is we're one of the few agencies in the United States that's actually railroad of record and an owner of railroad. That's not typically a thing that occurs in public transit. Usually they lease from the line. And so for our agency to have a presence, I think on the STB is huge. I think it speaks volumes of what our employees do from a rail perspective, but not only that, I think the knowledge they bring. And for Lori specifically, I think it really speaks volumes of the knowledge that she has of the organization overall. Really from bus to rail to everything that we do. So, kudos to Lori. That's a big deal. So if you get an opportunity for you to jump out of here, then make sure you congratulate her. And I'm going to make sure we said that before we end it today.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for the reminder. I liked it on social media, but Lori, congratulations. Do you have anything you'd like to say about it?
Not really, but, I'm very honored, to be appointed to this group. I think it's really important to passenger rail in California specifically and on the West Coast. I was nominated by the former chairman of the STD, so that was even more special to me. And I'm not saying I had my 11-year anniversary at NCTD 10 days ago.
And for those who may not know that acronym, STB stands for
The Surface Transportation Board. They have jurisdiction over passenger rail and freight rail in the U.S.
Thank you. I know we have some new board members, so I forget and I flip into the acronyms as well, but it is important for us to remember that not everyone knows. So Suhel, have there been new public speakers that signed up since I left us?
No, ma'am.
Okay, at this time, public registration to speak on public comments will end. That ends our agenda items for today. We have a number of meetings scheduled in May. Please note that due to the implementation of a number of technology upgrades in our boardroom here, we will be meeting at different times and in different locations than normal. The next scheduled meetings are, drum roll please. The Performance Administration and Finance Committee, PASS, will meet May 6th, 2024 at 11 a.m. at the NCTD offices located at 311 South Tremont Street here in Oceanside. The Executive Committee will also meet on May 6th, 2024 at 1 p.m. also at 311 South Tremont Street. Regular board meeting date is May 16th, 2024. We'll start at 11 a.m. rather than at 2 p.m. It will be held in the City of Oceanside Council Chambers, which are located at 300 North Coast Highway in Oceanside, of course. The good news is that all of these meeting locations are a very short walk from the Oceanside Transit Center. So if anybody's interested in taking our public transportation up to our meetings, it's a great time to try it out. So thank you, everyone. This meeting is adjourned.
Oh, just say go.
No.